Netta.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue, we do a roll call, please.
Director Hickson?
Here.
Director Burns?
Yes.
Director Green?
Here.
Director Spade?
Here.
Director Police?
Here.
And for Western Lane?
Director Webb?
Here.
Director Yesney?
Here.
Director Russell? Here. Director Farnsworth?
Here.
Director Murphy?
Here.
All right, well, exciting time as we start our new year. We have new directors to swear them in. Thank you for just the coldness of taking in for their oath of office. So, Rick, do you want to start?
Sure.
Yeah.
If I could ask John Murphy and Cindy, if maybe we'll come up front here. Okay. John and Cindy, you've been appointed to represent the communities served by Western Lane Ambulance District. Your behaviors, decisions, and actions directly reflect the image of Western Lane Ambulance District, other board members, its personnel, and the level of service the district provides to the citizens that we serve. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Cynthia Russell,
John Murphy. Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Director for Western Lane Ambulance District.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties for Director of Western Lane Ambulance District.
Very good. Thank you. And for being elected.
All right. I'm going to break it up around this time. Well, I'm Burns, Sam Spade, and Jim Polisi. You have been appointed to represent the communities served by Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue. Your behaviors, decisions, and actions directly reflect the image of Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue, other board members, its personnel, and the level of service the district provides to the citizens we serve. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alan Burns,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Director for Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Director for the Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue.
Well, congratulations. All right, next on our agenda is the election of officers for the new fiscal year. And I would say that to observe the spirit of policy of at least the Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue, where we would like to recognize opportunity for directors to gain leadership at the district level and have a succession plan, I would like to hereby nominate Ned Hickson as president.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Ned Hickson as president. Is there a discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So moved. With that then, I'm going to actually change positions here and ask Ned Hickson from this point forward to carry out the rest of the officer election.
Yes, no.
Ed?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Newspaper better get N-E-D.
Sure, my dad did a little cat. Well, thank you. It's a real honor to be in this position after serving on the board for a couple of years. I think Ron's done a great job. I've learned a lot watching him, so I'm excited to move forward with the group that we have. I'm extremely excited about this particular board and the level of experience we have in many different areas. So I'm sure we're all going to benefit from the combined wisdom of this group, minus myself. So it should be cool. I guess the next item would be to continue on the election of officers. The next would be vice president. I'd like to nominate Ron Green for that position. Second. Any discussion? Sam said he doesn't like you, so no, I'm just kidding. No. All right, then take a motion forward for Ron Green as vice president. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Ron Green, vice president. Secretary treasurer. Is there anyone who would like to be in that position? Before I just make you do it, no, just won't do that. Is there anyone who should be the secretary? I was the secretary before. It doesn't require a lot of time. Just kind of being involved in the financial part, signing some things, and is there anyone who would like
If
that?
he's willing to serve, I would like to nominate Jim Polisi as secretary treasurer.
Okay. Jim, okay with that? Sure. Okay. Can I get another motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Alan. Any discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Welcome aboard, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to move to the Western Lane Ambulance District officer elections, and let's do each one individually, and start with president.
I'd like to nominate Rick Gesney to president.
Second.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gesney?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
All right, and then we'll move to vice president. And I would like to nominate, first of all, thank you for that again. I think the plan would be, as Ron said, actually my plan is maybe to serve this one more year, and hopefully we'll continue bringing on new people to take the lead role. I'd like to nominate Larry Farnsworth as vice president.
I'll second it.
And a first and a second. Any other nominations? Larry, are you willing to serve? Okay, we'll call vote, please.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gesney?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
All right, and Secretary Treasurer, we've had a great treasurer in Cindy for years. Would anybody be opposed to having Cindy continue? I'd like to make that nomination.
I'll second it.
All right, Cindy, willing to serve as Secretary Treasurer?
Such a tough job.
You do really well. You have to sign everything. It's honest. Appreciate that. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we have a roll call vote.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gesney?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Awesome. Okay, so public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to speak to the board of directors, and we combine the public comment for both entities. The maximum time for each speaker, for all speakers, is 30 minutes, and 3 minutes will be allotted for each speaker. Is there anybody who'd like to make public comment tonight? Okay. Okay, then we'll close the public comment section.
Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes.
Anyone have any questions or concerns, comments?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, second. And approval of the minutes is approved.
Okay, and for Western Lane Ambulance District, regular meeting on June 27th, that was a joint meeting also. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah. I
Any
move that we
comments?
approve the minutes.
Okay,
as
we have
posted.
first,
I'd like to make a comment.
yes.
Director Woody was not here, but he was recognized. Thank you, Woody, for all your years of service here. It's very much appreciated. Enjoy it. It's great.
Good, thank you for that, Larry. Thanks, Woody. So we have a first, we have a second on approval of the minutes.
I'll second.
Webb, seconded, roll call vote, please.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gasky?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes. Dina, do you want to lead us through the financials?
Okay, so the June financials are in your board packet, and as I said in my report, they're not final because we still have adjustments to make, and the auditor needs to come in the fall, and we will have final numbers when the audit is complete. But all of the financials look good, all the appropriation categories are within budget. Kathy Taylor was here on July 1st. She met with staff, the management team, and answered a lot of questions. She worked with me in discussing the calculations of beginning fund balance on the new budgets and the process of declaring additional revenue once the audit is complete. So that may be something that we encounter for both districts. If we are coming in under budget, there may be additional revenue to add to the budget if we want to appropriate that. We discussed online banking and auto pay bills, which is one of my upcoming projects. And we discussed the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. And if this does move forward, we do not plan to do a supplemental budget right away because there really would not be that big of a difference in personnel services. And we can always make adjustments towards the end of the fiscal year as opposed to jumping on it early in the year. Does that make sense?
So would we operate the authority without a budget then?
No, the authority would have a budget, but the Saginaw Valley and the Western Lane budgets would not have to be amended.
Okay, until the end of the year?
Right.
Okay.
We also discussed LifeMed, and the definition of a fund is doing a line of business restricted to a specific use with its own income, expenses, and personnel. Kathy recommends that we do not make any changes to LifeMed this fiscal year since we have already adopted the budgets and have resolutions in place declaring it as a fund. But she believes that we should next year budget LifeMed into the general fund as line items. Because it's, as we have discussed in previous meetings and Director Farnsworth has mentioned, we can do that.
There is something with LifeMed being a separate fund that allows the funds to be used for particular purposes beyond what your typical tax money is. So there's opportunities to do some community surveys, for example, pre-election. And the funds that can come out of that fund aren't tethered to the same obligations that the tax monies, patient service fees are.
When LifeMed was created, I believe Chief House looked in the archives to try to find a resolution that described how LifeMed was set up, or is that what you're referring to? But I don't know if we found that.
I know the intent.
The intent
was there, and I know that there's a specific reason why that has been kept as a separate fund. So the intent to have it as a separate fund was intentional, so that the monies weren't
you could easily, clearly separate the monies from the life med fund from the taxpayer money. And that was an important distinction in certain circumstances where we had to go out for public surveys or educational purposes.
Okay. All right, I might meet with you at another
Yeah,
time.
Loved it.
Great, thank you. So that is really all I have to report on the financials. I'm available for questions if there are any.
The net other income, where is that going to come from?
Where are you speaking of?
At the bottom line there, we have net operating income, and then we have total other income,
Which report are you on?
the income statement,
The balance sheet or the budget?
budget versus actual.
Okay.
That looks like it could be.
That's it, on balance sheet.
See if it wasn't mentioned in the stuff. Yeah.
So again, I'm sorry, say that again on the.
So it's just a transfer from Life Med.
Okay, so there, that's another thing Kathy did help me with, was the transfers out of the Life Med fund into the general fund. And that is shown at the bottom. So you're looking at the net income, the $8,199?
Correct.
Okay, so that shows that the expenses, let's look here real quick. So your total income was 3.478 million, and your total expenses was 3.735. So when you add in the additional 265,000, I don't have my calculator here, but I think we're at 8,199.
Right, I just wondered if the 265 was from Life Med.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that was budgeted.
Right, I understand. So, back to the point we just discussed, and hopefully we'll get this resolved, because it seems like if we're carrying the expenses for Life Med within the budget and we're moving the funds over, we're doing it already. It's just more complicated for staff than it needs to be.
Right.
You know, it could just be a couple of different line items.
Well, I think what I will do is meet with Director Webb so we can find out if there is, we can pinpoint those definitions
Sure.
and address that.
Sounds
and,
good. Yeah.
And go from there.
It would be good as well, since Life Med has a requirement to cover people's co-pays and that sort of thing, if we have an assessment tool for that, so that we know whether or not Life Med itself is being charged at the correct rate. You know, we can subsidize it a little bit, but not to an extraordinary extent. So it'd be nice to know that our community outreach and that sort of thing, and our public service in that area, plus the contractual allowances we're giving are within our budget. Because I don't think we've had an increase in Life Med, what, Matt, a couple of years?
And numbers or revenue?
No.
On the membership.
Yeah, membership fee.
No, not in the membership fee. We've been stagnant at $65 for 7 years, roughly.
So-
Maybe 5.
That might be a consideration to look at.
I mean, usually when we look at the membership fees, we're looking at it across the board, the state to
Right.
other agencies.
Of course, yeah.
When they move up their rates, we're looking at adjusting our rates to reflect the same.
Mhm.
Some have already done it. Excuse me. I know a couple agencies that went to $69 and one or two that went to $74. So I think the trend is about ready to happen where everybody makes the jump to either $5 or $10.
Sure. We want it to continue to be attractive to people, so, yeah.
So we'll continue this discussion in the future.
Sure.
Just real quick, I don't know if I'm missing it, but the balance sheet I was looking for.
Well, the balance sheet, I did not get the systems designs reports until yesterday, so I did put the balance sheet in.
Are they at the end?
Yeah, I think right. Keep going down. And I also realized that the first balance sheet I put in was just a 1 year, and I caught that this afternoon, so you should have the 2-year balance sheet in your packet now.
And a lot of, if I may add to that, is the reason why it wasn't added is because we had a short turnaround in the board meetings. And we told them that you generally feed it to us by the 15th. We have no problem about making the other month's board meetings. But because of the quick turnaround, we just stuck with the board meeting.
No, I appreciate that, I just wanted to see it.
I'd just like to make a comment that commend the staff and everybody for. We actually operated about over $600,000 better than the budget, which is really phenomenal. If we take our net operating income or loss of $256,000 in the general fund, and we add the net operating income on the life net fund, we're still slightly at a loss. And just, I think, commendable to come in that far in the budget, but we actually have to run a profit because we have to have a little bit of money to be able to put aside for equipment as well. So we'll have to keep working on trying to get our finances a little bit better as we go along. But great job, way ahead of budget. I think that's commendable to the staff and the team. Any more questions on the financials? I don't see we have to approve the past dues and
Everyone's had time to look over the financials. Do we have any questions about anything in there? No. Okay. I just had one. It's not really a question, I guess. I know it's something that we're looking at in terms of overtime. I know since it's a little over 10,000. I think that's actually down a little bit from last month, I believe. I know that that's something that we've kind of been talking about. Any thought on that? I mean, is there a plan for addressing that moving forward? I know it's part of extremely season line.
Overtime costs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at that, a lot of that is contractual, so we'd have to be addressed through the CBA, but it is something we're watching very closely.
Yeah.
And, any way we can to decrease it, we're looking at that.
I'm just looking at that thinking that could be an apparatus. Okay. Have a motion to ratify the bills?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Sam, second. Any discussion on that? All right. So moved, expenses are ratified. I have correspondence in mind. Do you want me to go with that?
What were they on the transaction?
Oh, you haven't done.
Yeah, we'll do this. Sorry. So Western Lane, we have the transaction list on pages 20 and 21.
I just have a question about the city of Florence for 114.
That's for our annual contractual agreement for the Peace Center.
We just pay it once a year.
That's actually a reduction from last year. We paid roughly like 123 last year.
And the Johnson Motor payment, is that a
With the house vehicle,
house vehicle? Okay. And Introspect Medical Solutions, is that supplies or?
Introspect is one of our main vendors when it comes to defibrillators, AEDs, and or like our patches for the cardiac monitoring.
Okay. Any other questions on the transaction?
What did we buy from Johnson? Was it?
The vehicle.
We had budgeted
Yeah.
through capital for the ops vehicle.
Yes, what did we buy?
The Ford Interceptor, which is very similar to like the police officer's car.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I spec'd it really close to it. Except for we got that call.
Did we get it yet?
Better good job.
Actually, it's been almost 2 months since we ordered it, and they said that it should take about 2 months, and I haven't even got a VIN yet from Ford, Johnson Ford.
Okay.
Which the good thing about buying locally, believe it or not, they beat up everybody, even our HVAC contract. So So that was a great learning curve when we went to bid and get the competitive bidding. So anticipating, we pushed this to make sure that we can get it into the last year capital outlay. And even the light package, we pushed it and said, okay, I know we don't have a vehicle, but we need to get this money. If not, we may not have it next year. So I anticipate by September, I'm hoping that we'll have the vehicle.
Okay, cool.
And then the current ops vehicle will go into the secondary unit response vehicle and the MIH vehicle.
Okay, cool.
That's great.
Make a motion to approve the transaction list for June 2018.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Director Russell seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gesting?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Chief, do you want to do correspondence or Ned? Either one?
I do.
Do you want to read it?
I'd love to, yeah. So what I tell the community as often as I can is that, let us know when we make a mistake so we can fix it, but also let us know when we do something well. And we received a letter from one of our citizens, and I just wanted to pass this on to the boards. I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to two of your employees. On June 17, 2019, I contacted your office and spoke with Laura Lindemann. My inquiry was regarding smoke carbon monoxide detector alarms in my home that had been in alarm state for the last 14 hours, and everybody knows how irritating. I'm a senior with physical limitations, and these alarms are installed on very high ceilings with one very high in the middle of a stairway. I've already contacted several electricians with no luck getting a service call. Laura was very helpful, professional and courteous, and said SVFR could send someone out to check my alarms. Within less than 30 minutes, I received a call from Warren Ray stating that he was arriving at my home. Warren tested multiple smoke detectors, replaced batteries, got them working again, and she closes with, I sincerely appreciate not only the service SVFR has provided me, but also these two employees who went well beyond simply doing their jobs. So I absolutely want to recognize those two, and I think it's very typical of the people that we have working for us here. Thank you, Lawrence. And now we have ordinances to discuss. I'm going to read the titles of both ordinances. There's one for SVFR, one for Western Lane. There are hard copies here, so we don't have to read the entire ordinances. For Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue, this is ordinance number 2019-01. An ordinance adopting an intergovernmental agreement and creating a new intergovernmental fire agency, the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. And then for Western Lane Ambulance District, ordinance number 2019-01. An ordinance adopting an intergovernmental agreement and creating a new intergovernmental fire agency, the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. So we're not required to have public comments on these ordinances, but now it's up for the board to discuss the ordinances. There were some changes that have been suggested, and we put hard copies at your seats. This was the IGA committee that had a couple suggestions. So we're open to further discussion.
I have a question. Sir, you just read into the record of the hard copies with the suggestions. You had the word fire erased out, marked out.
That is one of the suggestions.
Okay.
That wasn't on my copy, but that is correct.
Okay.
Chief, for some of us who are either new or haven't been in municipal entities before, can you kind of explain the process of adopting a resolution?
Well, this is an ordinance. This is an ordinance, so this
Ordinance.
yeah. This is more, to me, is more reflective of a law. So once an ordinance is passed, it's permanent. It can only be changed with an additional ordinance. It takes place 30 days after it's been approved, after the second reading, or at some other date as specified in the ordinance. You'll have 5 options after the second reading, well, after this first reading, actually, you have 5 options. You can request that a public hearing be held. You can refer the ordinance to a committee for review and recommendation. You can refer it to Fire and EMS Chief for revision. You can pass it to the second reading, or you can completely reject the ordinance. So those are your options. And this ordinance, of course, establishes Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. It includes as attachments the IGA, which describes the authority, job descriptions, policies, as well as list of employees that would be in the authority.
In the first and second reading, there has to be a first and a second, and they have to be so far apart.
6 days apart.
6 days apart.
Second reading is planned for the board meeting in August. And some of the comments we received from the IGA committee was to remove, well, to specify that this is for administrative services, what we're specifying here. So typically these would have 2 fire agencies coming together and they would be providing fire services, but that's technically not what we're doing. We're just going to be providing administrative services.
So the ordinance adopting the IGAs themselves aren't sufficient to perform the same thing, or this adds enough permanence to make that intergovernmental agency or the third entity function without being disrupted? Was that the intent?
Right. I mean, you mentioned the 2 options, and each option will get you there. I think, the ordinance is a little bit more permanent. It can be changed absolutely by, wishes of the board, but it does give a sense of permanence to it.
So you need a motion from both boards to adopt,
To pass to the second reading.
to pass the second reading. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that ordinance number 2019-01, an ordinance adopting an intergovernmental agreement and creating a new intergovernmental agency, the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority, be passed to the second reading.
Okay, very good. We have, first, do we have a second?
Second.
Director Murphy seconded. Further discussion
I
from
have a
Western Lane
question
Board?
on it. So one of the reasons from what I understand was that doing the third entity, so if another district wanted to join into us, that they could use our administrative capabilities for that. In this language, is that laid out in here? That if someone else wants to join, because I just see everything as Western Lane and fire, and I don't know, said you have to do a new ordinance if, say, Mapleton decides to join us.
I think it's spelled out in the IGA itself.
That would be an IGA or under the
Within the
ordinance.
IGA, they can join.
The actual attachment.
Yes.
The actual description of
So
the
they would
IGA.
have a separate IGA to join into it then?
Yes, they would have to be partners to the IGA.
So just so I understand, basically what we're saying here is that this is the ordinance, but attached to the ordinance is the description of the IGA that lays out how everything is going to work, and within that it explains that if another agency wishes to couple with this agency, then, we have it spelled out as how that can happen.
It would be
It's just not in the ordinance, but it's in the actual IGA description.
Okay.
Just to clarify, we have quite a lengthy set of the ordinance and the IGA and then, I think policies. They're attached.
Policies and job descriptions.
And those are all exactly the same documents for fire and ambulance.
That's correct.
And we're approving the ordinance and the IGA, is that,
You're just passing them on to the second reading.
to a second reading?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the motion?
The motion is only for the ordinance, correct?
Correct, to go to a second reading. Correct. That's what I believe Larry's motion is.
Yep.
Further discussion? Motion from Western Lane?
No.
Just point of clarification with the changes. This is just the changes.
Yes, with the red line changes. Okay, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Gessie?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Over there.
Okay, I'll make the motion, Mr. President, for first reading of ordinance number 2019-01, the ordinance adopting an intergovernmental agreement and creating a new governmental agency, the Western Lane Fire and EMS, including the changes that the committee came up with that we've been presented, and call for the first reading. And I would like to put in that motion that we have opened up to a public hearing before we do the second reading.
Would we be able to just incorporate the second reading into our August meeting at that point? And allow public-
Yep.
everybody
Let
to
it
vote?
comment if they want to.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-01, an ordinance adopting the intergovernmental agreement and creating a new intergovernmental agency, the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority, approving the first reading of the ordinance and moving on to the second reading, which would take place at the next meeting in August, at which would be also a public hearing. Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Okay. Motion is approved. First reading is approved, and we will hear it again in our August meeting.
So a point of order follow-up, since we had not approved the public hearing, I think to remain in sync, we probably ought to address Western Lane Ambulance District adding a public hearing before the finalizing the second reading. That's what you're wrong.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a first, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, we'll call on that motion, please.
Director Wynn?
Yes.
Director Yasny?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
So point of order, did you guys vote?
I don't think we did.
You had a first and a second,
Yeah, we had a first and a second, so.
so all in
All those in
favor?
favor? Aye. Any opposed? I was just thinking that as you were, when you rolled out, I was like, all right. It's going so well.
We'll keep you on track.
Okay. Just a note that on the committees, now it's time to appoint committees that, and President Green and I had discussed this a little bit beforehand. So a thought was the policy committee hasn't met in some time, and I'm not sure that we still need, the finance committee has never met. I'd like to possibly propose that we appoint tonight or reappoint or consider appointing the first two committees and leave the second two on an as-needed or an ad hoc basis as needed for policy. And, you know, if staff needs to get together with the board for finance, we could make that ad hoc as well. Maybe a point about the IGA advisory committee. That committee, as noted in our last meeting, needs to be reappointed on an annual basis, and we decided, based on a great suggestion, that that committee would go through August. We're going to have the second, if we proceed and approve the second reading of the third entity in August. I think it's debatable whether we need the IGA committee if we're going to have a four-person board that will be the third committee that will be overseeing the IGA itself. I guess I'll open it up for all discussion here, but I guess I'm going to suggest that we do reappoint the IGA committee, knowing it may sunset within a month or two, so that we reappoint it for now, but it may sunset with the third entity and the labor negotiations committee also. That one definitely, that we have appointed those two tonight, and for the other two.
Is it necessary to even have the IGA committee since we've already voted on the ordinance the first time it's going to a second read?
Well, the only comment I would have is that the IGA committee was active this last couple of weeks to assist the chief in making sure that we had the policies correctly transmitted over from each agency. So I concur with Director Yesney. We should just keep it in place until the IGA, the third entity is established, in case if you have any other housekeeping. Then we don't have to reappoint a committee just for that purpose. So I see it sunsetting in 6 weeks, if that. And you may not need us at all.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's what we're kind of debating. Until we get it approved, maybe we just keep it in place.
I like the idea of the board, the new IGA board for that.
Taking that role.
Yeah, exactly.
Any discussion on the side? I mean, I think that it makes sense to just sort of, since, as we've shown just in the last few weeks, we've sort of needed some components of the IGA committee in order to hash out a few rough spots. We may come up with some more things between now and the second reading. And then rather than trying to, quickly appoint a new IGA committee, we can just keep them and then right off in the sunset.
And I believe, keep in mind, if the committee meets and makes changes, now the first reading of the ordinance is null and void, we have to have a new ordinance.
Right.
That's correct.
That's a good point.
So discussion on 2 committees remaining, knowing what may sunset. Nobody's opposed.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint our 2 board members to the IGA committee to serve for the next 60 days.
Okay, so to make that motion clear, that Larry Farnsworth and myself are currently on the Western Lane IGA committee.
Myself as well.
I guess we'll go ahead and handle that one. So we have a motion.
I would second it, but I would ask the motion to be amended to appoint for the full year, and if it sunsets, it sunsets. We'll take action if it's something that doesn't work, but we want to go back in 60 days after the reappoint.
Okay. That's a good point.
Okay, so that's amended motion?
Yeah. amended
Okay.
motion.
So is that clear what we're amending, Holly? So we're going to a year, no problem. Okay. Okay, any more discussion on the motion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Yesney?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
I have just a question before we proceed with our proposed. A year or so ago, we modified a policy, and I thought just the respective board presidents could appoint these committees, as long as there wasn't a staff or a citizen member.
That's
require a vote on
Wait,
the
is that the current policy?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
I mean, not,
We have a vote, we'll stick with it, but I will also appoint myself and Director Farnsworth for 1 year on the committee.
Okay.
and the caveat is if we had a citizen member on the committee, such as the budget committee, that requires board approval.
Got it. Thanks. Thank you, Ron.
Well, I'd just like to continue on with that, and we'll just, unless there's any objections, myself and Ron Green continue on the IGA committee through next month, at which point we'll reevaluate that.
Okay.
Any discussion on that? Okay.
All right.
Labor negotiations. So as Rick pointed out, we need to appoint labor negotiation committee members. Last time I was on that committee. I can't remember who else was on there. Was anyone else from the fire?
I don't think it was a normal committee. I think it was a board member to augment the chief's work.
Because it was, sorry, it was chief land board.
But I'd like to recommend that the board president appoint 2 members of the board to to be available to staff to negotiate.
So let me ask first, is there anyone who would like to be a member of the labor negotiation committee? I would like to. You read my mind. Definitely would like to have Jim on there. And I don't know if it's kosher for me to nominate myself, just simply because I was at the last one. There's someone carried over there. But however, if there's anyone who would really like to do that, certainly entertain that.
I think you're great. I'll nominate you.
Okay then. Well, that's easy. All right, so myself and Jim will be on the labor negotiation committee.
Okay, and I think we would mirror labor negotiations on the Western Lane ambulance side and look for 2 committee members to fill those roles. I thought about this some, and we have qualified, everybody's qualified that's on the board. I'd like to hear any comments relating to a suggestion that, first of all, Mike Webb be on the board as a long-standing member with a lot of history and background on the district. And flashes to show it. And Director Farnsworth who's been involved with labor negotiations in the past as well. And again, I think these are committee members that would be available to assist chief and a labor negotiator if we have them. The board will be fully apprised of anything that goes on, and my understanding is the board has to make any decisions related to labor negotiations. Any discussion on or thoughts on that? Is that okay, or Cindy, anything?
My view is that I would like both boards to be more activist with the chief and his negotiating team in, representing our district and taxpayers. And I think that together as a group, we bring a quality to the process that will benefit all parties, our employees, our teams, and our entity together. I think that's a great way to go forward.
All right, I'll make that appointment. Directors Webb and Farnsworth. Okay, I think new business now.
Okay.
We have another ordinance.
Well, regarding ordinance 2, Chief Dickerson put a memo in your board packet that they are still working on ordinance 2019-02, adopting the Oregon Fire Code. Operations and Prevention are working diligently on making sure that the ordinance is complete and ready for board approval. We have some review that we are working on to develop the addendums. He recommends the first reading ordinance 2019-02 at the August 22nd board meeting.
Is that 02 or 03?
02. We are about ready to address 03.
Oh, okay. Do we have a copy of 02 yet, or?
You do not.
No, okay.
This is just the SVFR ordinance.
Right.
And there is a hard copy available for public review, so I'm just going to read the title. Siuslaw Valley Fire Rescue Ordinance 2019-03, an ordinance adopting a private right-of-way standard. So this is a standard that's working its way around the county. Several Lane County fire agencies are involved in putting this into effect. It just specifies width and length of driveways and make it a little bit more accessible for vehicles.
So it essentially sets a standard.
Yes.
For all driveways, or is it
New
rules?
driveways.
New driveways.
Yes, new driveways.
Nothing grandfathered in.
Well, I'll make the motion for SVFR that we move to the second reading for ordinance 2019-03, an ordinance adopting a private driveway standard at the August board meeting, second reading.
A second on that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the first reading and moving to a second reading, August 22nd meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, and we can move to staff reports. Chief, you're up first.
Thank you. So most of, you all get my weekly report, so I'm not going to repeat what's in there. Just a few things. I know most of you know that we're having some IT issues, and we're working with that. Shannon is doing a fantastic job trying to get everything running. It's just we're trying to find Shannon. Fun. Did I say Shannon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job. Find the issues and fix them. We boosted the speed, but now we may be having an issue with the routers, but we're trying to fix all of that. So if you do have any IT issues, certainly let us know, and we'll try and fix those, but we're moving forward. One thing that you may hear about from some of the firefighters or EMT personnel is that we're going to a new mapping software. It's called Enroute Pro. Lets us track incidents, lets us do quite a few different things. We can draw on a map and everybody sees that in their vehicle as they respond. It's being used by several Lane County agencies. We get mutual aid calls, see them respond. It'll show who's responding, where they're going. So it's going to be quite a bit of an upgrade of what we're using now. What's really nice is that it's free, so that also helps. So.
How is that?
Well, I think it's free now. I don't know.
So it's free.
Yeah, it is a Lane County derived program, and all the individuals involved with the company are in Lane County. So I can see county support for this, but we're paying for Active 911 now, so that'll go away. Our go live date is August 1st. Chief House has been running this for us, and there's some dispatch issues. We have to make sure all the connections are there, but we've been using it as a trial run for a couple months now, and I really like the mapping program. It helps somebody that's just come to the community and doesn't know where anything is, so it's been very helpful.
Like anywhere in quarantine.
Absolutely. Well, it gets you in the general area.
Chief,
Those are other issues.
I've got a question for you. Does it also have the ability to show locations of hydrants?
You can put in map books and things like that. I
Okay.
don't know if it would automatically show the hydrants, but that would be good.
So can it then, is there a way to layer in, for example, and I'm just thinking, mutual aid companies coming in, are they going to know our water systems? Do they know what size main they're going to be hooking to? Is there a way to integrate that into it?
So pre-plans and mapping will all be shared.
Oh, good.
Among the agencies if they wish. So yeah, I would expect that to be available.
Excellent.
I'll be giving my first community talk next week at the Kiwanis. I don't know if any members, Kiwanis members, are okay. So you and Matt will get my first community presentation. I've got Rotary next month. So now we're starting to set up the community presentation. So again, if you know of any group that would like the chief to come talk, contact Laura, who's here. She's helping to set up my schedule. And I already described a couple of the fires we've had over the last month in my weekly reports. One of note, we had that fire on Booth Island, which is down the lake. Access is only by boat, which has its challenges. We got called back on Saturday. Started to smolder, so about a week later. Not unheard of for something like that to happen, especially dries out and the wind picks up. Problem we had was that we had nobody that was qualified to pilot our boat. So we had to, and I'm not really sure that our boat is in service. It's something that Chief Dickerson and I have been discussing. So I'm going to have to come with a recommendation to the board here. What do we do about our boat? So we asked one of our volunteers who has a boat, who actually was the first one to report the fire last Monday, to take a crew out there. So we did get out there, we did take care of it. But it's just some of the challenges that we have here in this community.
Was that an older house, newer house? What was the?
I don't know the age of the house. To tell you the truth, they all look like, well, sound like they look like things. So. Mr. Cox, his house is very close to that, so he's been very interested in doing that. Yeah, wasn't reported until Monday morning that we had a volunteer firefighter who was fishing at the time, saw a plume of smoke and went over to it, but luckily went over to investigate, and luckily it didn't spread.
Is that privately owned land or is it federal?
It is private.
Private.
Is there more than one house out there?
And there's quite a few houses. I would say maybe 10, no, 10 to 12. Yeah, that's all I have.
Out there.
That's my report.
Great, it's Chief. So fire ops, we have a written report, and you can give a...
And I'll take any questions about that. If you have any questions on Jim's report.
Hey, Matt, from EMS.
So the EMS operations report, I put in the second quarter call volumes as well. We're still trending slightly behind compared to last year, and both in the second quarter and also in the month of June. The interesting thing that I haven't seen in quite a while is the amount of no patients that we're running, and I don't have a reason why it spiked so high. I mean, it was like 40% how many more we did this in the month of June. And just for various reasons, and looking at either for lift assist, repeat offenders that we go out on, and probably the best word, but frequent flyers that we go out on that we have to assist them. But we're not horribly behind. I think we're overall second quarter 3% below from what we were last year. Was a record-breaking call volume here. Any questions on the second quarter and monthly call volume?
Just a clarification again, I think the last meeting, if I got it right, when we look at the call report, the first three lines, the 911 response transports, the transfers, and the specialty care transfers, those would all qualify for billing.
Yes.
And so when you talk about the no patient transport and the no patient, that's the category that we don't get paid.
Correct.
Right? So our volume is down a little bit, but also our non-paid volume is significantly up.
Correct.
Okay. That's last year, it's closed, so we'll hope July picks up.
It already has.
Turns, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, July has already been exceedingly busy so far to date. I'm kind of interested to see how the numbers will break down. We've had quite a few 18 call days, and generally our average is between 12 and 14 in December. We're doing 18. And I did an add-on, which is not in the report, but I just want to put something on your radar. I'll speak to it now. Peace Harbor Hospital is enduring, I wouldn't say a staffing crisis, but staffing problems. And unfortunately, it's an area that definitely impacts us. It's their ICU. So with their ICU and the problems that they're having in staffing, the way that the hospital system works is if one part of the system backlogs, there's a trickle-down effect, and usually EMS ends up carrying the burden. I was notified a week and a half ago, roughly, that this occurred at Peace Harbor Hospital with their staffing issues. And literally within a couple of days, we've already seen an increase of transfers for inter-facilities. So putting on your radar that this month of July and into August, I changed the scheduling to reflect it where we have 24/7 coverage. So the overtime will be increased to cover this load. This is on top of our 18 call volumes that we're doing as well. So I didn't have the data yet because it was such a quick turnaround for like a week, but we've already seen a remarkable increase in transfers because of the bed unavailability. And the projected timeline of being fixed is traveling nurses will be here to help August 4th to get them onboarded process where they can work. They're looking until they'll be ready to go August 17th. So I've authorized till August 17th that we'll be running 5-person crews. The 6-person one is our retrieval retention position, but I've also authorized that on the back part of that they'll be on standby, so we have 3 ambulances available through this. This is an uncommon, when the hospital did their huge upgrades and remodeling, we did things very similar to this, and and we managed it very, very well. I anticipate we'll do it. I've already noticed since we pulled the trigger on it last week, well, 3 days ago, that the staff is managing it really, really well. Just purely for it to be on your radar, so you're aware that the overtime cost is going to be increased over July and August because of this. And inherently, those are our busy months, and they are generally an increase in those months as well.
Is there any particular category of injury or mayhem that you're addressing?
When you're dealing with ICU, it really is just sick patients. A lot of the trauma patients already get transferred out. It really deals more with just generalized sick.
How about the call volume? Just the regular call.
Normal influx of tourism. They're not related to ATVs or NBC and motor vehicle collisions, just the normal, our town's bigger during the summer.
Yeah, okay.
Matt, is it busy in the valley too? I mean, are transports having to go longer distances than Riverman?
We haven't had yet to really break, go to Mercy and down in Medford like we had a couple of years ago with the staffing crisis. What we're seeing is that the hospital's making better decisions and we're transferring down to Coos Bay, which is a better transfer for us. So if they can take the patients, and Riverbend is on the verge, which that happens quite a bit, we have been going more to Coos Bay, which is, I think, the ideal and best solution. But then there's McKinsey that we'll go to, and also Good Sam and Corvallis. And the Good Sam and Corvallis is kind of like we're stretching where we really don't like to go any further unless it absolutely has to go to for medically necessity.
Great. That's good to hear.
The other thing, there's just the regular mobile integrated healthcare. There's nothing new to report. One is continuing to do a fantastic job. Call volume and the volume, second quarter report. It's in the report. She was up by 10 calls compared to last year. Churn report, we've got a lot of training activities going on. Rob's doing a fantastic job keeping everything in line and going. And the vehicle fleet report, vehicles are doing great. 195 is being serviced just for routine bolts and lug nuts, essentially making sure that the cap doesn't fall off. And the CST report was attached as well. And it's a quick turnaround from last board meeting. So happy to answer any other questions.
On the transport load from scene, the second line down, there's no description there.
Yeah, are you talking about the report from Industry?
Yes. It's page 308 on the, it's 127 lines.
I will have to research that. I don't know why I did that. It really is a report writer program within the system. So thank you for pointing that out. I'll take it.
All right. Any questions any further questions for Matt on the operations report? Thanks for that, Matt. I know you're busy.
Are they going to be able to address this crisis in the ICU with more than just traveling nurses?
The traveling nurses is always a bridge until they can get there. They have actually had some that were in the hiring process.
Yeah.
The hiring process with Peace Health, it's not a flip the switch and you're hired. I mean, even when they hire a physician, it takes almost a year for them to be credentialed. So then you go backwards, it takes usually about 3 months to 6 months to hire a nurse. I was told today that they actually had authority to hire a nurse, but however, it wasn't relayed down from corporate to local. And so they had 3 applications that were sitting there for 3 months and they've already got a job somewhere else. So it's just kind of unfortunate, like a perfect storm would happen. And we carry the burden sometimes when that happens, being ALS providers.
Okay. Any further questions for Matt? Okay. So Dina, anything else on that you want to add for office manager?
Sure. I am happy to announce that Mary is now a certified notary public.
Oh, we noticed that.
She expressed interest in taking the course and she completed it online and she has her supplies. And at this point, we're just keeping it in-house. We don't see any reason to advertise it for public services, but if we get to that point, if there is a need for it, we will. But just so you know. Thank you.
Congrats.
Chief and I, Chief is helping me get the budgets in booklet form. We're starting to work on that, and as soon as we get that done, we will have those available for public. We will put them on the website. We will have the copies for you. And incidentally, I have started to upload documents into the onboard software under resources. So instead of doing a new board member hard 3-ring binder with a bunch of paper in there, we're trying to get budgets, SDO, new board member handbook. There's several, and if you, the collective bargaining agreements, budgets, IGAs, strategic, stuff, lots of stuff. So take a look at that. On your left side of your onboard, there is a little folder, and you should have access to those resources. And as soon as we get the new budget complete, we will upload that as well. If any of you have anything that is not there that you would like to see there, let us know. It's very easy to upload, and that way you all have copies of it for your referral. I also included ORSs, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good.
I just requested we also include policies.
The policy manuals?
Yes.
Okay.
Board approved policies.
Will do.
I think it would be great as well if we could plan in advance for the next SDAO conference. I've attended 2 of those, and they're really outstanding, and great opportunities for education and training and learning about our board responsibilities, and it's really cutting edge. There's a lot of great symposiums and information there. So I found it to be really a valuable experience for the last 2 years. I'd like to see us all be able to go and participate.
That's usually in February.
Yeah, so it should be on our calendars.
Big Red. Is it going to be on the coast this year instead?
Last I heard, I think it's Seaside.
Yeah, Seaside this time.
Yeah.
So we might want to line up the housing early, because it's always pretty tight.
Right, that's very good. We'll start working on that. That said, the new board member training for SDAO is August 7th in Newport. I have the 3 new directors here registered. I did not register any of you since you had been to that conference, and I checked with Director Murphy, and since he's on other boards, he's had similar training, so.
You could probably teach.
It's really excellent.
Right, but the annual conference is a couple of days, so there's much more than what the August 7th is. But the August 7th is very good training as well.
Dina, also on the resources, when the ordinances get approved, the prevention ordinances, can we also have them put in here?
Yes.
So we don't have to cross-reference back in? Thank you.
And Dina, the SDAO, it's in August. Is that on the 22nd?
The one in Cottage
It's in
Grove
Cottage Grove.
is on the, yes.
Okay,
thank
that's
you.
when they're next.
So that's,
Yeah.
well,
But it's in
you usually get done around 4.
Okay.
Yeah, that might make it kind of tight for pushing it to get back. Thank you for reminding me of that.
We could look at.
Maybe a 6:30 start time or a 7:30
Yeah, we could do
start
it.
time?
Yeah, 6:30 you probably won't do it. Either that or we do it the day before.
Okay, so I guess there's a Cottage Grove, there's one up in Newport.
Right, well, Newport is on the 7th, and Director Stream and Hickson asked to attend the one in Cottage Grove on the 22nd.
Okay.
So then were you not available at 7?
For one in Newport?
Yeah.
I have to look.
If we're available, could that be switched?
I can sure try
Because honestly, that would be better for me.
on the 7th.
Yeah. See, even though I requested the 22nd.
Okay.
Was it preserved?
I can't make it on the 7th.
Okay.
So are we talking about changing changing a board meeting?
Just the time, we were talking about deferring maybe a half an hour, it should be 4, but.
In Cottage Grove, right?
Yeah, but if, and Director Dixon can change to,
Yeah, I can do this.
You
7.
can do the 7th
I
as well?
can do the 7th, I can do the 7th.
Okay, so we are going to reschedule Directors Green and Dixon for the 7th at Newport, and Director Burns is unable to attend the 7th. So I will make those changes tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that means there's no change to the start time on August 22nd board meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the videos that are being taped of these meetings will start going on, will be uploaded to the Western Lane website as well. Do the Western Lane directors have any problem with sharing that cost? Okay, thank you.
Makes sense.
So this will be the first meeting that will go on to the Western Lane ambulance website. Plan on still sending out RFQs for IT services in August. And the next thing I wanted to mention is that we have created SVFR email addresses for all of you. Those will go live August 1st. I've given you each a little sticky note right inside your name tag with your email address and your password. I do want to highly recommend that accessing your district email from a district issued device is for your protection. Although if you want to forward that email to another device, that's up to you, but it is recommended to get it set up on district issued iPads.
So what is the email server?
What is the server?
Yeah, what, we can set up our device, what we're connecting to what?
I believe it's the svfr.org.
Okay.
But if you do not feel comfortable setting that up, if you could leave your iPads with us, we'll get it set up for you. I think that's all I have.
So Dean, a question on the email and computers. How many of our board members are using their personal? I mean, do you want us to switch then to?
Yes, so the Western Lane, we will also switch over to, the communication from staff will be to the Western Lane ambulance emails starting August 1st.
Okay.
So that's fine, I've been using it.
You've been using it? Yeah. Mike, are you using it?
I need to set it up on my phone so I can get it on a regular basis. Otherwise, I only get it when I open this up. I have so many email addresses, it's,
Okay.
I have to do list.
John, Cindy, are you both using
I'm just
district?
using Western Lane.
Using the Western Lane, a district issue, and John, you are too? So I'm the only oddball. Okay, so like I said, I get a computer.
I have that already set up for you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so you know, but I have my own. So it's-
And Director Green, I know you use your own iPad. If you want to get a district iPad, let me know.
If I'm given the choice, I would prefer not to.
Okay? That's all I have.
Okay, good job.
Okay, do we have any comments or discussion, anything that was not on the agenda from any of the directors? You guys are good over there?
Yeah, I think so.
The next board meeting will be a joint board meeting on Thursday, August 22nd at 6 o'clock p.m. But I would like to note that following the adjournment of this meeting, we will go into executive session for ORS 192.6602B. Representatives of the news media and designated individuals will be allowed to attend the session. All other audience members must leave the room. News media representatives and other attendees are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations made during the executive session except to state the general subject as stated in the ORS. No final decisions will be made during this session, and the board will return to open session if action will be taken. With that said, we'll adjourn this meeting and move into executive session.
And that's
just
for
for
SVFR.
That's just for SVFR.
Yeah, okay, so ready to adjourn?
Um,